In the grand scheme of things, as a latecomer to the theme park world and as an Alton Towers nerd, there is still a lot I don't know in terms of old and new comings and goings, and still many rabbit holes I keep falling down about this park. And the latest rabbit hole I jumped into was the short-lived high ropes course that I literally just found out about for the first time. When I stumbled across it, I was looking at something else completely, and I was surprised because I'd never heard of it before, and naively thought to myself, oh, they've not advertised that very well. Well, myself, that's because it's not even open anymore and hasn't been for some time. In November 2014, Towers had submitted a planning application for a high ropes course to be located between the car parks for the theme park and the Alton Towers Hotel. This particular patch of land hadn't been used for anything in a very long time and was part of an area known as Nicklin's Farm, where there were a lot of trees, this is Towers after all, and the farmhouse was still in place, or at least it was at the time when they developed it. I'm also assuming that it was abandoned unless at some point they've used it for some kind of storage or security or something. But in the 17th century, this is kind of where the story goes back to really, because Alton Towers used to have a deer park, but in the 17th century it was no more and it was divided up into 4 farms, one of which was Nicklin's. And I also found references to the Alton Park farm around this area too. It is interesting that in the mid-2010s, Towers were interested in making use of this random section near the car parks. I won't go off topic, but if only that attitude were brought back now. Swiss Cottage and the theatre, I'm thinking of you. There were 2 courses planned, a higher course and then a lower one, and it was to be a year-round attraction, with tickets therefore being separate to those for the theme park. There was a central tower where the courses would start from, with a style and roof similar to the Enchanted Village area of the accommodation. The logo would also be designed very similar to this branding. I feel like this was probably designed to be some kind of add-on attraction to the outdoor accommodation, like the Golf had been, sort of with the hotel. To make room for the new attraction, a single-storey building made of corrugated metal would be removed, so some old hanger-on from the farm, I'm guessing. And a play area was also proposed, along with a small practice area for course participants, toilets, an office, storeroom and a cafe, with some repair works also to be done to the existing farmhouse buildings, even though they were not to be used. But I understand this would have been to satisfy historical and archaeological concerns. So when the proposals were put forward, they estimated 250 to 300 people a day would use the courses, but more on that later. Construction started in March 2015 and the Treetop Quest, as it was called, opened in May. Or specifically, in the beginning it was called the Enchanted Village Treetop Quest or something like that, but later on it became known as just Treetop Quest. And as I mentioned, there were 2 separate courses. The Challenger course, as it was later known, which was 8 metres or just over 26 feet from the ground. Now, it had 19 different obstacles, very similar to most high rope courses, to be honest, from what I could see. These included climbing webs, tyres, stepping stones, and even a large zip wire to the finish, which was 85 metres or almost 279 feet long. In total, the Challenger course, the bigger course, the higher course, would take about an hour, and you had to be at least 11 years old and 1.4 metres tall to take part. As of 2019, the Challenger course cost £24. Now, for £18, you could complete the 45-minute-long Explorer course, which contained 12 obstacles with a lower height of up to 5 metres or 16 feet. For this course, you just had to be at least 6 years old and or 1 metres tall. There was the option to use a headcam to record your time on either course, with the video available to purchase for £20, or you could buy a photo for a tenner. Now, after opening in 2015, the Treetop Quest did not open at all in 2018, and in this same year plans were submitted for the stargazing pod accommodation, and construction for this started in July. The reception for the Treetop Quest is what is now the stargazing pod reception, and in 2019 for the summer season the Treetop Quest did reopen, but they used an external operator, and after the 2019 summer season that was it. It never opened again. And I'm assuming in the other brief few years that it was open, it was only in the warmer months. So even then, it wouldn't have been open, I'm guessing, for a whole season. I might be slightly wrong there, but even so, it had a very short life, and I've been trying to find out why. To read about the idea of Treetop Quest, it sounded like a really great one for the resort. It was something different. It was another upcharge activity, but it utilised another bit of blank space without having to remove an existing ride or facilities, and you didn't have to be a theme park guest necessarily to have access. It was something that still provided thrills, but at a lower cost compared to building an actual new ride in terms of the park's investment. And I couldn't really think of any big negatives. And it was something else for hotel guests to do that wasn't golf, assuming you're not going to the water park at Splash Landings. But that being said, why did it only last until 2019? There wasn't really a lot out there online in terms of why it closed, nor any big announcements from the park that I could see. The general consensus was that it was just another thing that the park had given up on, potentially due to visitor numbers being lower than expected. Remember the numbers from before? 250 to 300 people a day? I don't actually know what the real numbers are, but I'm guessing they were lower than that. The reason that there weren't so many guests potentially could be down to pricing. If it cost £24 for the bigger course, you may as well have paid a bit more and got a whole day's admission into the theme park with unlimited rides. Not to mention the price of the videos and pictures at £20 and £10 respectively. With the struggles at Merlin more apparent now than ever in 2025, especially since the very recent announcement of them relinquishing some of their Blackpool-based attractions, this may well have been a contributing factor back in 2019. Perhaps upkeep was more effort than expected, or the costs of the health and safety aspect, staffing and insurance were higher than the income maybe. And in 2024, Alton Towers started removing the course. As of June 2025, I have no idea if it's all gone, or if the wooden buildings are still there, or even what the state of the old farmhouse buildings are like now. But if anyone does know, please enlighten me. So over time, the wooden structures and obstacles were likely to be very weathered if they'd stood there unused and therefore uncared for 5 years. But I'd still like to think that maybe some elements of Treetop Quest, even if it was just some of the buildings, may have been sold on or reused somehow. Overall, it seems such a shame that it didn't work out, and it feels like a bit of a waste of time and money. I've got no idea if the play area is even still there or available for use. I wouldn't have minded giving Treetop Quest a try, purely to see the views and have a nose at the old buildings. I'm also very, very curious to know whether anyone is allowed on that patch of land at all, or if it's all blocked off. So, what's next for this area? I wonder if they would ever try an outdoor attraction like this again. The golf is still doing pretty well, and with pathways and clearings already on this area, could we ever see a revival of something on this patch? You know, imagine den building or something a bit more nearer the ground as an accompaniment to the outdoor accommodation. Perhaps not anytime soon, of course, but let's see what the future holds. And that's it. Thank you for watching/listening, and I'll see you next time.